Hey Capricorns, and welcome to your October 2017 General Tarot Forecast. This is Sky here to give you guys hopefully another amazing reading for your month ahead. And you guys have some pretty intense themes coming forward in your reading this month. Everybody, like I'm saying on the readings, is having like these like Tower cards and Ten of Swords and Death. And so October for everyone is being really crazy. And you guys are kind of at the like forefront of the human condition right now. I feel that coming out of September, you might kind of feel like you're having a dark soul or dark night of the soul type of experience, and you're just kind of going through it. I think that you're preparing for when Saturn comes into your sign. As I've kind of noticed lately that when transits happen, like when the planets are transiting and all the astrology stuff, it seems like you start to kind of catch on to the wavelength sometimes before the transit starts to happen. So maybe you guys are really kind of foreseeing what could be coming if you continue the circumstance that you have going right now. And I think that some of you might feel like you don't have a lot of hope in the situation, although you do. Believe it or not, Capricorn has some of the most potential right now and some of the most strong ability to transcend and transmute difficult energies into positive experiences, which is interesting because you guys do have the Sun in your reading, you have the Tower, you have Ten of Swords. So it feels to me that by the time you're hearing this, maybe in October, that the damage that is happening here that we're feeling from these archetypes may already have happened and you're in like recovery mode. I do feel like a lot of you are confronting addiction, as like Scorpio is as well, and a few other signs. I feel that a lot of you, even if it's not like what you think is an addiction, are confronting old habits, recreating habits, starting new patterns of being. There's a big change in value happening for you right now, as well as a push to definitely hone in on a more spontaneous nature as well. People around you right now, Capricorn, are not helping you very much. Some old friends or platonic relationships seem to not be working out very well. Also, someone that you've been with for a short amount of time might not be working out very well. You do have Two of Cups reversed in your reading, which usually indicates a new kind of romance. So for those of you who are single, who might have started a relationship in September, you might be kind of worried about where it's going, and it's still kind of undecided for a lot of you who are still there. Like what happens in October will decide the future of new relationships. For those of you in long-running relationships, this is a month where it can be very tested. Everybody around you will kind of be tested somewhat. All of the people in your life are currently being kind of universally tested, because I've noticed that when Saturn's about to go into your sign, it's kind of like you bleed that off into other people. And that's, of course, coming from their energy. Like you're in each other's lives for a reason. But you will start to see that the people around you kind of might start to have crisis. Even if you yourself don't have crisis right now, people could be like wanting to be with you to help them recover. People could be needing to like borrow money from you. People could be needing to like stay at your house for a little while or something. Like prepare to react to people in need. I just get that as a very strong gut feeling for Capricorn. It's like impoverished people, homeless people, not Capricorn yourself, but being the person that gets called. Like you're everybody's plan B. Like maybe somebody will go to jail and call you to come and bail them out. Or just bailouts in general. The idea of you being that person who always has the resources to help other people in their crisis. But what happens when you're the one in the crisis? Because I think that you kind of realize maybe like you're having a personal crisis just as big as like other people's problems, just without all of the surface level details. So maybe some of these people haven't been there for you in your time of need, or haven't really expressed the want to be present in your life when you're having difficult problems. And I think that you're confronting that in October. There is a very strong potential to be weighed down by other people's drama here. So it feels like if you kind of get back to your roots, or if you kind of become more alone right now, that you can feel a bit more happy, or you can feel a bit more fulfilled by cutting some ties. Ten of Swords usually always means that you're cutting people off, or you're breaking emotional bonds that are quite strong. It is reversed, though, as your central theme, so it's hard for a lot of you to do. I feel like a lot of you feel sturdy in your relationships, and you really want to feel sturdy in your relationships, so it's really hard for you to cut people off. It's really hard for Capricorn to not be loyal, even if that's to a fault. So this is definitely a month where you have to test your loyalty, and you have to test, are you willing to sacrifice yourself for other people? Capricorn is really bad about martyring themselves, and sometimes a negative quality of your sign can be that you might expect something back for that. That's the thing about like martyr complex and stuff is people want to be a martyr so that then people are like indebted to them. Be careful about debt in general. Like I just feel like something's indebted or something is you could be indebted to somebody else emotionally, or they could be indebted to you, but also just physical debt as well is a possibility during this time. So make sure you're like spending within your means, all of that. Ultimately, you're having a huge transformation, though. You guys have Judgment in the Sun. Like, you guys have so much Major Arcana, like, powerful Major Arcana in your reading. So it's a universal month. I always say, like, 3 or more Major Arcana cards. It's going to be a very strong month to remember. So very transformative, very powerful. You can get what you want during this time. Like, it's kind of like a careful for what you wish for type of energy. Like, what has your subtle thoughts been during this time, Capricorn? Have you been, like, hoping that people would have a bad experience because of what they put you through? It'll probably happen. Have you been hoping that somebody else would suffer because they put somebody else through, or they, like, cheated somebody else? It could happen. And it feels to me that you're seeing a lot of negative things happen to people who you didn't have very good intentions toward, and that's kind of scattering you. Like, because you, at the end of the day, you don't want to see people in a difficult situation, but you realize sort of where your, like, mental thoughts have been. You can get a lot done in October. You can be really quick with your like work. Like, all the details of your work can pass you by very quickly. You seem to enjoy whatever you're crafting right now. So it would be good to focus your energy in a creative way like that versus some of these deeper emotional problems, because you can really get a lot done. You can get a lot squared away and in order during this month. So that seems to me to be where a lot of your positive things come from, is like what changes you can make, what things you can get into order, how you can organize your schedule, or just organize your space. You seem to be able to get a lot of benevolence based on really honing in on more inanimate things. That's what I usually say when you get like the Tower energy and Ten of Swords. It's better to think more about like inanimate things in your life than about relationships, because there's not usually a lot of control once the Tower comes in. You can try to constrain things. You can try to make things solid or structure things, but it's usually too late when the Tower is here, because oftentimes you or the other person or whoever has had enough time to structure it but have chosen not to. Like when it comes to relationships that are falling apart, like there have been opportunities to structure and now it's too late. So it'll be good to structure something that's inanimate for you. And not to say that there aren't Capricorns out there who aren't having healthy relationships, although you are in the minority. And that's not really even just based on a Capricorn thing. It's just a humanity thing right now. Relationships are not really working in general. I feel that this changes by like the 2020s. But for the rest of this decade, to me, it feels that relationships continue to be kind of a weird thing for humanity in general. And it will always be, but it's specifically quite difficult right now to make relationships work. So more on that perhaps in another video. So I want to go ahead and get into the week-to-week spread for you guys and see what's coming forward for you. In the first week, you guys have King of Wands rooted down by the Sun. This is actually a really good week. You have a lot of potential here and you can get a lot done. You can start new businesses here. You can create new things. Very fertile, very benevolent, very successful here. And I'm sure that by seeing the rest of the reading, you're like, well, I hesitate to start new things. But I feel that for the most case for Capricorn, the problems don't come from financial areas. Most of them are coming from relationships, which obviously hinges somewhat on finances as well. But it feels to me like your business, like what you're creating right now, is very good since you have this energy coming in the first week. Some of you could be having children. Some of you could be like pregnant or something. That's usually a meaning of the Sun. Also, you are going to, I'm feeling this really strongly. You're probably going to learn about secrets that people didn't think that you would know during this time. In fact, that's probably what is creating some of the other parts of this reading. It feels like some of you may have been cheated on and you realize it here, and then it's just a matter of like, where do you go next? And that definitely makes sense based on what the rest of the reading is evoking. However, I as I say in all my videos whenever I mention cheating, I always hesitate to say that on YouTube because so many people like watch the videos, and I don't want to create like a like fear of being cheated on if you've not suspected it or something, because obviously that's not going to be everybody. So make sure that you have like real tangible proof that that could be happening. If you've not really had a gut feeling about it until you watch my reading, it's probably more of a like power of suggestion type of thing. So a lot of Capricorns, though, have been struggling with infidelities and cheating, so it's not a surprise to see that maybe you finally get the proof here, or maybe you finally get light shed on what people didn't expect you to see. And I always say with cheating and with like infidelities in general, it is usually like the number one thing that catalyzes the end of a relationship. And this happens for a reason. Oftentimes, like energies, like when we meet who we think to be our soulmate or our twin flame, like people's wavelengths change so quickly that you can maybe for like a few weeks of meeting somebody be on the same wavelength and then it changes. And ultimately, it's just going to be a destructive thing. And the something has to catalyze the ending because it just can't exist once those wavelengths kind of change. So that's just what's happening, and it will be good for you guys to be confident in that and know that things don't tend to end unless they need to, and things don't tend to just end for the sake of ending. Although that's kind of actually not a too bad of a way to put it. Sometimes things do end for the sake of ending, but there's something that catalyzed that. So you have to be grateful for endings in a way. In the second week, you have Knight of Swords reversed, rooted down by Knight of Pentacles reversed. So integration of your more outwardly focused masculine air and earth qualities starts to happen here. Also, this can be, again, air signs and earth signs around you, but I always say that like court cards can be people around you, but also parts of your personality, and it's usually both because we tend to draw in parts of our personality which need integrating. So I feel that the integration starts here, sort of the mixing of energies which indicate like quick action, quick decisions, running really quickly into a new purpose versus like being more slow, being more tangible, being more materially focused. Those two energies are definitely integrating within you. Quickly find purpose and create new motivation to really reach out towards something which is a material, tangible result in the future. It feels like integrating that really helps your business and your finances to come to a higher place. The second week in October is kind of uneventful. There's something about it that doesn't really speak to me that much, so it's probably just time that you're trying to fill up or you're trying to work with, and this is good because you have so many eventful things happening in October. It will be good for you guys to have somewhat of a break. In this third week, you guys have the Tower rooted down by Two of Cups reversed. Oh my gosh, this is probably the strongest week of the month. Something will happen here where you realize the way things are. Things that have been propped up for a long time, which can't stay up because of a lack of sturdy foundation, will come down during this time. Like I said, when the Tower comes in, there's not a lot of room to prop things up. There's not a lot of room to create a false perception of what is actually happening. You usually are very much forced to see things for how they are and to purge that which no longer benefits you or fulfills you. Things that you've been trying to endure despite knowing that they are not good for you, or despite knowing that they can't work or that they cause pain in the future, will be taken whether or not you want to release them or not. The Tower has been coming up for so many people. I feel like this is like my 7th reading or something where I've like been giving Tower descriptions. And I guess like humanity is just going through a period of time where, you know, we're going to release the toxins. Like the toxins have been building for a long time and they have to be purged now. What goes up must come down, as above, so below. All of that kind of stuff is indicative of the energy in the Tower. On the plus side, and I feel this more specifically for you guys than I do other people, it's almost like people that have been putting you through a weird circumstance can't do it anymore. Or it's like people's true faces are shown, people's true intentions are shown. And I feel like it actually benefits you, Capricorn. I feel like for some of the other signs, it's being a really difficult experience, but this could actually not be that bad for you because I feel like you see people for who they are, and that's the ultimate blessing. However, with that being rooted down by Two of Cups reversed, it suggests that perhaps you're going to see the true colors of somebody who's very close to you, potentially who you're in a relationship with, somebody who you once really thought was like the one for you. It could fall apart, and that's just, I'm going to be real with you guys. Relationships that have felt like soulmate connections, that have felt like really divine, can kind of fall apart during this time. Not for all of you, and there is a way, like if you've made some intentions in the past to like really structure it, that can come through. But usually when the Tower's there, there's like some kind of knowledge. Like I always say, these are like long coming energies where it's not like you just like wake up and don't understand why somebody left you. You would have to be like really like vapid to not see it. And I feel like that is a fear for you guys. Like, you've not wanted to look at this relationship too deeply because you're such a deep sign. And so it can really blindside you if something like this ends in a weird way because you've not really looked too deep because you've enjoyed the process of being more like surface level with it. But you can see very clearly how things couldn't work out. Maybe the backgrounds are so different. Maybe there are different values and ideals relating to, like, I just heard like monogamy. So maybe this person isn't ready to be like monogamous, or maybe like you're not. It could. I have such a wide array of people who will be watching this. There's no, I can't really say like what people's relationship values are. So you could just find that people's values are not matching up here, which makes things fall through. And for a small amount of you, you're going to have kind of a crisis or even an identity crisis or completely be a different person by the third week of October due to some of the crazy things that have been happening. And it's like through that circumstance, you'll meet a soulmate type of energy. But that's going to be a small percentage because it's hard to energetically narrow yourself into that. But that energy is there and can be taken advantage of. So maybe if you set an intention or do affirmations or, but usually by luck or by benevolence, you find yourself in that kind of situation. You do have to be careful though, because usually people that you meet in really destructive times of your life, despite feeling sometimes very like otherworldly or kind of, just really nice energy, it usually has some kind of lesson with it. So do be aware of that. In the fourth week, it's so much better. You guys have Judgment rooted down by 3 of Cups reversed. Like you're somewhat transformed by now. You're somewhat like out of it. You have kind of done the what you needed to do. You've gotten past the sort of grossness of it all. Although usually the Tower energy, I usually say if it comes up in a reading, it reverberates for at least 3 months afterwards. And that's no exception for you guys. But I just feel like Capricorn is one of those signs who knows what to do during crisis, or who knows what to do. Like you're kind of like hardwired to navigate difficult circumstances. So even if it lasts for like 3 months or 3 years, like whatever, you guys kind of already instinctually know what to do. So kind of allow yourself to go into your instincts and to just kind of go into autopilot if you need to, because your energy knows what it's doing during times like these. You just have to be careful about the ego getting all wrapped up in a weird way. There is definitely a strong message that like some platonic relationships that you've used as like foundations or had as like someone to lean on during difficult times may not come through in that way during this time. And it's okay because we're going into Scorpio time. So there's always some kind of something that you have to confront alone or without the validation of other people. So it's okay to reach out. It's okay to see if people are there. But if you start to find that people aren't there for you, even if they're there in person and it's just not feeling like a connection, just let that be a sign that there's something about this that you have to learn for yourself, and be ready to become independent and like be ready to go on autopilot, as I'm saying. Central theme being 10 of Swords reversed. 10 of Swords is a hard archetype, you guys. But again, like you're Capricorns, you guys get it. And you guys, we're coming from a pretty good September. And that's usually what happens. Like when I see 10 of Swords or the Tower, usually like a really nice benevolent period of time gets a very stark contrast. But if you can let go of things that you knew were going to end anyway, 10 of Swords isn't that hard. It's just a matter of like, I always refer to like the Cancer analogy, like when you think of crabs, like they get held onto somebody's skin and they won't let go, so the person just has to like, it's so easy, like the human strength versus the crab strength, to just like detach the claw, like it completely tears off the crab's arm. That's the problem with 10 of Swords energy, is it's like if you can't let go, it's so easy for the universe to just kind of tear off your proverbial arm. So do whatever you can to peacefully let go so that you have as many limbs as possible to get through the rest of your October with. Anyway, I've so enjoyed giving this reading to you guys. Ultimately, you kind of find what you're made of here. You find what you need to push through. It will be good for you guys to be around Cancers, I feel like, because they sort of get that whole idea of like your arm being ripped off. Maybe some of your arms already kind of feel ripped off by this energy, and it will be good to be around people who understand it. Also, like I feel like Sagittarius and Scorpio, that's just intuitive. might be nice too, but ultimately it's like a you thing, Capricorn. Like nobody's really going to quite understand. So hopefully you can find some solace in building your own internal dialogue and building the way that you support yourself. Anyway, I love you guys. I know not maybe the most positive reading, but you guys are the best sign about understanding like this is good. Like regardless of how negative or difficult an experience can be, it builds to something greater. And there's always an equal and opposite reaction. So I appreciate you guys for understanding that. I love my Capricorns. And if this reading was helpful for you guys, I really hope you'll get the chance to check out my new Patreon page. The link should be popping up in the center of your screen right now. Through Patreon, you can see my readings with no ads and also have early access to them. I also do monthly drawings for free readings and have lots of fun discussions. So if you are interested, you can be sure and check it out. If you guys would like to book a private reading with me, that link is in the description box. And I hope that you'll get the chance to subscribe to my YouTube channel here now if you want to keep track of the reading process and what all I am putting out. I hope you guys have an amazing October, and I will be seeing you in November. Bye.